Devil fruits have a will of their own that can be inherited through the generations, which is exactly why the Gomu Gomu no Mi is so important. Now, same as you probably have been very focused on Haki for the past couple of years, which just makes sense. This may sound harsh, but devil fruits simply were not that interesting for a while, until Doflamingo revealed the next level. Awakening. And minor spoiler, since this topic has become relevant again in recent chapters with the revealed awakenings of Kid and Law, I couldn't help but wonder, has Luffy awakened his devil fruit as well? What would it actually look like? And most importantly, what is the secret behind the fruits in the first place? For the first time in a while, that really got me thinking, to the point where I was lying in bed at night, unable to sleep. My analytical brain shifting into overtime gear told me that there just had to be some clues in the story. I simply had to know. So what did I do? Well, what any reasonable person would do at 4 AM in the morning, I got up, opened my laptop, and started working. I was gonna analyze every type of fruit, every piece of lore, and every instance of awakening until a few hours later, I actually managed to complete this crazy puzzle of clues that connects Luffy, Roger, and Joy Boy. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Hi, my name is Manu, my favorite fruit is pineapple, and in this video I will pull back the curtain for you on the true nature of devil fruits, because the devil truly lies in the details here. The first thing I did, as I usually do with any theoretical analysis, was to establish the facts. What do we actually know? And even though you're probably familiar with all of this, it's gonna be critical for the juicy bit later on. And let's be real, there's definitely less fun things than learning some facts about devil fruits. Okay, so baseline is, these fruits seem to have been around for a long time and have become a regular part of the One Piece world. While they're considered quite rare and special, on the grand line that attracts only the strongest and weirdest people, they're found on a much more common basis.
𝚬𝚙𝚀って聞いたことがある。食っちまったら悪魔の能力と引き換えに海に嫌われて。
And if you try to eat more than one fruit, there are 3 types of devil fruits, each with their own subcategories: pineapple, banana, and orange. Just checking if you're still paying attention. Zone fruits allow their users to transform into an animal, giving them access to their regular form, their animal form, as well as a hybrid form. Subcategories include ancient zones for animals that have gone extinct, like dinosaurs, mythical zones that include mythical creatures like the phoenix, as well as a separation into herbivore and carnivore types, boosting endurance and defense, or speed and offense respectively. Next are Logia fruits. They're pretty easy to summarize. As you know, a Logia turns the body of its user into an element, for example, fire. Regular physical attacks are useless here. And this is little known, but Logia users can actually enhance their powers significantly by subscribing to my channel for next generation anime content. Paramecia fruits then are the dumping place for all powers that don't fit in the other 2 categories. And there are a ton of subcategories here. Some users can enhance their bodies. Luffy's enhancement is permanent, for instance. He's a rubberman. Mr. One can transform his body at will, while someone like Brook only gets the effect of his fruit through a certain event. In this case, death. Other users are able to produce a power. Some can produce materials like Doflamingo's string, others can produce a force of nature like Whitebeard, while again others can produce entire worlds of their own, such as Mondor or Brûlé. Lastly, there are people who I guess basically do magic. There's people like Sugar who can manipulate living things, people who have control over a certain space like Law and Corazon, and some even crazier powers like Big Mom's soul manipulation.
40年
In general, there are 4 known weaknesses to devil fruit powers. First, and maybe most dangerous, is losing the ability to swim. If a user is submerged into water, they are drained of all energy and incapable of moving or using their powers. Which, in a world of pirates consisting to 99% of water, is a pretty damn big handicap. Simply throwing a glass of water at them won't work though. Probably. The next best thing though is 𝚲𝚙𝚒𝚘𝚡 stone, which is mined in Wano and comes with its own set of mystery of how it's actually made and why it really works. The end result, however, is that this material has the same essence as the ocean, which is why it can be used to take out an ability user even on land and without throwing that glass of water at them. Third is haki, more specifically armament haki, or as it's called in French, acquis de l'armement. Mon Dieu! This can be used to forcibly turn a devil fruit user's body back into regular flesh and bones, no matter how it was transformed or shaped. And I never really thought about it for some reason, but isn't it really strange that haki has this effect on devil fruits? Well, small tease here, this is gonna be one of the details in which the devil will be found later. Better put on some pants, devil. Fourth, and this will also play a role, there is one devil fruit out there that has the ability to absorb and nullify any other power. Blackbeard's 𝚲𝚘𝚎𝚒𝚑𝚝 no Mi that he calls the strongest Logia out there. Finally, the most recent thing we learned is that devil fruits can actually be awakened. Basically, by mastering one's ability and being able to fully control it at will, the user starts to unlock a new level to his fruit that in some way or form enhances its power or reach. Zone users generally get access to a giant monster-like hybrid form that boosts all their physical attributes and also lets them recover very quickly from even the most fatal attacks. Examples of this are the guards in Impel Down, as well as most likely Chopper's Monster Points. Now, while we haven't seen a Logia user officially awaken, it is pretty safe to assume that such a power permanently changes the environment around them. This is not only based on Doflamingo's explanation, but also on how the landscape on Punk Hazard was permanently changed after the battle between Aokiji and Akainu, as well as Raijin Island that suspiciously looks like someone went a bit cray-cray with Enel's fruit there as well. Lastly, we have the wide range of paramecia users. While producers like Dofi, Kid, and Katakuri are able to change their environment as well as their body in their awakened state, someone like Law seems to get additional abilities for his fruit, like creating shockwaves inside the opponent's body. And actually, I think there is a pretty good chance that Luffy's awakening has already happened. If you want me to talk about that as well, let me know. So now that I had established all that we knew about devil fruits and consumed 2 cups of coffee, it was time to go clue hunting. Okay, so there are a couple of things that got me wondering about the true nature of devil fruits and if there wasn't more to all of this. Without making it any more unnecessarily dramatic, I was wondering whether devil fruits were in some weird way or form alive. While the idea of a sea devil residing in each fruit might have seemed like a casual sailor talk in early One Piece, Shanks turned out to be one of the most well-informed, connected, and powerful people in the story. And I've already talked in other videos a lot about how Shanks most likely was not simply chilling around in the East Blue, but actively following Roger's will to find the man he was waiting for. So my thesis statement is gonna be that this explanation by Shanks to Buggy on board of Roger's ship is literal. There resides a devil inside every fruit that is then transferred into the body of the person that consumes it and merges with their soul. Let me try and prove it to you. First of all, we have the incarnation of devil fruit powers. When a fruit user dies, his ability is shown to leave the body, like a soul, and travel to the nearest fruit of the same type. For example, Smiley's zone type fruit would always be an apple, which is why there can be a devil fruit encyclopedia in the first place that Blackbeard used to identify the 𝚲𝚘𝚎𝚒𝚑𝚝 no Mi. Imagine if it suddenly was a banana. The soul leaves the host and finds its next container. Once someone takes a bite of this new fruit, the devil enters the body and the rest of the fruit is useless. Well, except for vitamins, which are important. Basically, your soul and the soul of the devil merge. On Enies Lobby, Jabra explains to us that two devils would fight if you tried to consume a second devil fruit, killing the user in the process. The biggest evidence that devil fruits have a will of their own, however, in my opinion, are Funkfried, Smiley, and the second goodest boy in One Piece, Lasso.
To the best character in all of media, and that character is Whitebeard's dog. Whitebeard's dog.
All three of them are objects, a sword, a gas weapon, and a gun that have gained consciousness, free will, and the ability to turn into an animal. The only explanation really is that the soul contained in the devil fruit is transferred into the object. Pretty much the successful version of what Caesar tried to do with the Smiles. These objects now understand human speech and even have a will of their own, as is shown in this scene here. And if they actually have their own will, that also gives us an answer as to why devil fruits have their respective weaknesses. If the Sea Devil grants these powers, he could just absorb them back once you sink into him. His will is stronger than yours and that of your smaller devil. Similarly, Haki is able to overcome a fruit not because it overcomes the will of the owner, but of the devil fruit itself. Otherwise, every time someone tried to use Haki on another user, they would be stuck in limbo fighting it out for a while before they could actually forcibly change their bodies back. As for Blackbeard, if his devil fruit truly is the strongest devil fruit, and I have to admit the darkness fruit seems like the most devilish one out there, that would mean that the devil in his fruit is stronger than any other devil and that it nullifies their abilities in the very same way. Awakening a devil fruit then could be a quite literal phrase. When you're underwater, your devil is asleep. In your everyday state, the devil is in something of a dream state, sharing their abilities, but when you awaken, the full potential of the devil is unleashed. With the awakening, the devil part of your soul would of course become stronger, which is exactly what we see in the prison guards in Impel Down. They're much more animal than human, just as with Chopper, who has to train hard to get control over this state as well. People like Doflamingo and Katakuri clearly have control over it, but nonetheless, all the awakened fruits we know of cause incredible destruction to their surroundings and are really hard to keep in check. You're literally fighting with the devil over control. And they also require an enormous amount of energy. And seeing how Kid and Law struggle with it, Conqueror's Haki might well play a role and be an advantage in dealing with this state. Doflamingo and Katakuri, after all, both were able to use their awakening quite creatively and really bend the rules of their normal powers. But what comes next is what you probably have been waiting for, and it will hopefully really blow your mind. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you that the devil's soul not only merges with your own, it also takes on some of your properties. In other words, devil fruits are used to inherit someone's will. Let me get you through this. The best example case here is Ace and his Mera Mera no Mi. Sabo mentions that they have to get back his fruit so that they can inherit that person's will. Similarly, Blackbeard, who tried recruiting Ace into his crew before capturing him, tells Luffy that Burgess will take the fruit and it'll be as if Ace had joined himself. However, it could be that they're just talking about his legacy. But when Sabo eats the fruit and blows away Burgess, he says this really strange line. And even more strangely, I found that Sabo started acting like Ace. Even the way he says goodbye was the same as Ace did on Alabasta. And just a bit later, Sabo goes off on his own at Marijoa and potentially gets captured, just like Ace. But you might rightfully say that might just be because him and Ace were really close. Well, here is exhibit number 2. Big Mom and Mother Caramel. We do know for a fact that Lin Lin was an extremely kind and caring kid that at times lost control trying to do good things. However, after consuming Mother Caramel's fruit, she starts turning evil and took on many of Caramel's traits. She starts calling herself Big Mom, has the same devilish smile and lipstick, and while Mother Caramel was using the orphans for her benefit, Big Mom uses her own children for hers. The same is true for the weapons that consume fruits. They all take on certain personalities. And a really interesting example is actually Khalifa. She was introduced as this incredibly serious woman, but once she ate her devil fruit, she started doing things like this. Similarly, Blackbeard suddenly wants to be called Admiral after eating his fruit. And 2 other really interesting people in this category are actually Bartholomew and Mr. 2. Both of them, as we know, are very kind and gentle people at heart, but while Mr. 2 joined Crocodile's dark scheme to overthrow an entire country, Bartholomew is known to be very cruel to those outside the Straw Hats. Did you also ever find that a bit strange? Well, now that we know that both of these fruits belong to the Kurozumi clan, if they had inherited their cruel and scheming ways, that would make sense, right? But the real mind blow to me was applying this to Luffy. For some strange reason, the Gomu Gomu no Mi turned out to be way more important than we actually thought. It was stolen and protected by Shanks, who got into a conflict with the world government about it. I've always hated the idea that Roger had ate the Gomu Gomu no Mi as well. But looking at it through this lens, what if he had and Luffy literally took on some of Roger's personality traits? As you know, so many characters have drawn parallels between Luffy and Roger, down to Luffy saying the exact same thing as the first Pirate King.
イーストブルーにロジャー船長と同じことを言うガキがいたんだ。船長のあの言葉。
Luffy's reaction at his execution in Loketown? Roger. Luffy's reason to look for the One Piece? Roger. And it's only after Luffy eats the Gomu Gomu no Mi that he declares his dream to become Pirate King for the very first time to Shanks, upon which he then receives Roger's old hat.
お前に預ける。
Wait. If that were true, shouldn't we already know that Roger has had the same fruit as Luffy? That should be common knowledge after all. But what if it was actually Joy Boy's fruit? Now, this is admittedly speculation, but what if Roger found this fruit on Laugh Tale, consumed it, inherited Joy Boy's will, and then died a little later without most people ever knowing? For his execution, as we know, knives and blades still work on Luffy. So wouldn't it make a lot of sense that this was the true reason this fruit was special? Not because it had some secret rubber power, but because it has Joy Boy's and Roger's inherited will in it. And remember Roger's last words to Rayleigh.
俺は死なねえぜ、相棒。
He literally remembers them after meeting Luffy. This theory is based on a lot of analysis, but if you want something even bigger, I suggest you check out the best One Piece theory ever